Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Nagin is here and I will be painting peonies today. I'm using two round brushes, one bigger and one smaller. You could also use a mop brush. For paper, I'm using a regular watercolor paper, 300 GSM non-cotton. First, I'm drawing some guides to define the composition and sizes of these flowers. At the top, I want to have a more oval shape. This is a bud that is slightly opening up, and these two other ones are rounder and smaller. Here I want to mention about the Pinterest board I have prepared. These are reference photos that I have taken myself and I'm using for these paintings today. So feel free to check them out and use them as guides to help you in your drawing process. Now I'm drawing peonies that are more open. So these have a wider shape, more oval. And as you can see, I put down the guide again and mark where the first petals are going to be and start by drawing these larger shapes, and the more towards center I move, the smaller the petals will get. My sketch is finished and I tape down the paper to start painting. And I'm using a very light layer of opera pink and put down the paint all over the shape. Then I want to let it dry and add more layers and contrast and definition to these petals as I go. So it's very important to start with a very light layer because we want to darken it step by step as we go. And if you start with a very like highly saturated and dark layer with too much pigments, it's hard to go back. And I'm using this technique where I load the brush with quite a lot of pigment, paint, put it down, then clean the brush with water, and with an upward movement, I spread the paint. This way you will get a nice flow between dark and light, so you create this kind of gradient. So I'm adding more paint to the bottom of each petal. Also, you can see that I'm rotating the paper constantly, and this is so that my hand sits comfortable on the table, and this way I have more control, more brush control. So I highly recommend to give it a try. It makes my painting process so much easier. Now keep in mind to dry your layers or each petal before you start adding paint to the one next to it or above it, because like especially if the flower is in a smaller shape, this means that these petals sit closer to each other, and you don't want the paint to flow in the areas that you want to preserve as a lighter. So if you want to have this clear division or separation of each petals, the contrast we create is very important. And if layers are not completely dry, you won't achieve it. One thing I realized when observing peonies was that the stems aren't really green, they have a reddish or pinkish tone to it. So for that, I'm first applying a very light layer of Prussian green, and then while it's still wet, I add some pink or red to get this natural looking sort of brownish green with a hint of pink. I repeat the same process where I put more pigments to the bottom, clean the brush, and spread the paint upwards, having darker paint at the bottom and then lighter at the top of each petal. The only difference here is that I didn't start by painting the light pink layer all over the flower first and then adding the contrast. This is just another way of doing it that I wanted to show you. And if you want to achieve more contrast with this technique, you could leave some areas as white, like the top part of each petal. I didn't do that because I want the flower to be completely pink. This is just another technique you can use. And remember to dry petals before painting the one next to it. And yeah, just repeat the whole process that I showed you previously, starting by lighter layers and adding more contrast as you go. I'm adding some purple to the opera pink to make it darker. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a like to support this channel so I can make more videos for you. Also, I would love to see your creations. Feel free to share them with me on my Instagram. And if you have any questions or comments, share them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.